Hello, everyone. Good morning. Just a little bit check the sound if everything is okay. Okay, perfect. Let's start our journey into the future of the web parts. So a little bit about myself before starting the presentation itself. So my name is Miguel Silva, and today I'll be talking about the Star Trek and the future of the web parts. Okay, so don't forget to attend the SharePoint conference in Vegas next year. So it's a big and it's a huge conference. I've been the pleasure to be there from the last 3 years. It's an amazing conference with an amazing contents, a lot of interesting people as well. Okay, a special thank you to our sponsors, because of course without them this kind of conference can be a little bit more difficult to achieve. Okay, so regarding myself, okay, so my name is Carlos Miguel Silva. I'm from Vila do Conde, Portugal, a very close, a very small city from the north from Portugal. I'm currently working as a CTO in Sandbind Tuning. That is a company that works namely with products for SharePoint environments. I'm proud to be a husband to a beautiful wife and father to awesome kids, but we know that in nowadays kids are a little bit pirates and not angels. Don't forget to be in for the raffle. So at the end of the show, we'll be raffling this amazing Oculus. So we are giving away 3 of this gift. Okay, a little bit about charity. So consider donating the following charity realized funds. Okay, with that said, let's go to our agenda from today. And okay, so today we'll be talking about a little bit about the paradigm of the web parts. So it's important to talk about the future, but it's also important to talk about the past. We cannot forget the past, because regarding the stuff that we add in the past, that in nowadays that will help us to understand how SharePoint works behind the scenes. So we'll be talking, I will walk through also in terms of development using SPFx web parts, and namely using one of the amazing service that Microsoft provides. One is a very fresh service that is the cognitive services, and I'll be walking to a live demo. So let's cross the fingers and hope that everything will went perfectly, because we never know. Live demos is always a challenge. So let's talk a little bit about the power platforms as well. So I will make a trick that I have in my slaves to convert and merge SPFx with other, in this particular case, with power platforms. Okay, Microsoft Teams at the end of the show as well. So I forgot to mention on the beginning of the demo, so on the beginning of the event. So I'm a Portuguese guy, so I speak a lot. So I'll try to be faster. I have also the Ryan behind the scenes that will help me with the time for sure. But let's move forward. Okay, so a little bit about the paradigm of shift from the server side to the client side. So we are all excited about the new framework of the SharePoint. So which got released, I believe, in 24 February from 2017, I believe so. So since August from that day, SharePoint Framework, so know it at SPFx, that I believe soon that will change the name. So I heard something regarding that. So was released in the developer preview edition, and I have undergone through many phases. So the framework was drastically improved from until the drop 6, and with the RC0, and finally after closing all the bugs, it got released for GA. Okay. But most of us will also like to know the background which led to the development of this new framework, what happened in the past, how it affects the market, and to what extent. Okay, so let's start our journey through the older development process in SharePoint and their advantage and of course disadvantage. Okay, so the entire area can be discussed under four main topics, which are farm solutions, sandbox solutions, client-side solution, and SharePoint add-ins. Okay, so farm solutions, which are hosted in an IES work process, so run code that can affect the whole farm. So when we debug a SharePoint project, host sandbox solution property, it sets to farm solution. So the system IES application pool recycles before the SharePoint retracts or deploys the feature so as to release it in any files locked for the IES work process. The farm solutions act at WSP, okay, they are packaged physically deployed on the SharePoint server. They contain server-side code like C# that has access to the entire SharePoint server API, meaning it can do a lot of things, okay? So a lot of components can be deployed with this model like web parts, event receivers, jobs, workflows, applicative pages, custom fields, custom forms, almost no limits, okay? This also means a poorly developed application can highly impact the server, okay? Meaning performance and security is a risk. Okay, when we go to the sandbox solutions, which are hosted on the SharePoint user code solution work process, that run code that can only affect the site collection, okay, of the solution, because the sandbox solution do not run on the IES worker process. Neither the IES application pool nor the IES server must restart, okay? That is a very important topic. It uses the same concept, but are limited. So mainly in the terms of the APIs, you can use, okay? They are resources throttled by the system, and this is also very important. Okay, then came the apps, now called add-ins. So they appear with, I believe, SharePoint 2013. Yeah, SharePoint 2013. And Sandbox were deprecated at the same time. Add-ins was completely a new approach for the development. So in a word, no custom code ever runs SharePoint machines with add-ins, never, okay? No code on the SharePoint server. The code is either client-side JavaScript or on the third-party server, ASP.NET or else. Okay, so, and after know a little bit about this this kind of code, and also inside the add-ins, so they are also categorized in different types. They can be SharePoint hosted add-ins, they can be provided hosted, they can be also provided hosted with OAuth authentication. That can be provided hosted I trust add-ins, so they have just JavaScript code plus a server-side code, and the server-side code may interact with SharePoint data by authentication itself as the add-in with the client certificates. Only possible with the SharePoint on-premise FAK, okay? Okay, so with this paradigm of shift, we came across finally in SharePoint 2016, Microsoft came with another development model named as a SharePoint Framework. So in SharePoint 2016 server, object model is still supported, but for on-premise farm only, okay? Only declarative sandbox solutions are allowed. Example, no-code sandbox solutions and add-in models is still supported. So since SharePoint 2016 is majorly focusing on cloud or hybrid cloud environment now, so it must come up with some approach which servers best on both. So example, on-premise as well, cloud, okay? So once we come with the SPFx, so there are a lot of advantage. So because SPFx model is client-side, so is a platform agnostic. Okay, as a result, .NET knowledge isn't requisite. Okay, another business positive is that the new SPFx can be adopted by the enterprise without the needed for .NET developer resources. It is a client-side model, is built in JavaScript, making SPFx applications potentially more dynamic and robust on their server side, okay? With this, okay, so everything running on the user context, that is also one of the benefits, works on both environments. We know that Microsoft still supports still support classic site pages as well, modern site pages. So the SPFx can work on these both environments. So we can create custom properties that will allow us to manipulate some of the behaviors of the web part itself. So there is a deployment mechanism that we nowadays with DevOps, for example, I will also have a session today that will be in Portuguese because it's my main language. So I will also talk about the deployment mechanism inside SPFx because it's an amazing using another service from Microsoft like DevOps and interact with the SPFx and can make a release pipelines and also build pipelines with CI and CD integrations. That is amazing nowadays. It's very, very scalable. So we can just push this until no limits, okay? The sky is not the limit, so we can do everything in nowadays with the SPFx since that we are running JavaScript. There is a lot of resources on the web to work with this framework. And so also in nowadays very, very important remote development. So almost the people working on IT right now, I can say like 95% of the people are working nowadays remotely and working with this SPFx. This is not a new. So anyone that are working with this SPFx can be work in 2 different places in the world without any kind of problem with that. Okay, so and also we have a local Workbench, so we don't need to set up our localhost environment, so everything is inside SPFx. So once we set up a new project, we can just up and running in 2 seconds. It's not 2 seconds because there are a lot of dependencies that needs to be installed, but we know. So local branches are very useful in terms of development. Of course, not all of the things are advantage, so there are some disadvantage, and that can be tricky, but client side can be also an advantage. So since everything is a client side, creating business critical web parts using SPFx is not what one most prefer, okay? The client side web parts are easy to reverse engineer it. And one can easily extract your business logic. It's all JavaScript, and at the end of the day, okay? Also, so fast, lightweight, and responsive. So new environment for classic SharePoint developers. The majority work it on farm solutions, C# client object model only. Okay, so it's completely a new thing. So from the old architectures, from the old senior developers in .NET, creating SPFx is a completely new world, okay? Of course, like I mentioned already, there are a lot of resources available on the web that can help us to understand how this works. There are a lot of resources as well to create new stuff with reusable components. There is no need to reinvent the wheel from scratch. So there are plenty of new resources available that can help us to bootstrap our project. So because starting from Node.js to TypeScript using Webpack, that can go into Gulp, everything will be the new classic developers, okay? Perfect, let's go for the second topic. Let's talk about a little bit from the development, okay? So SPFx web parts are using a lot of new technologies in terms of in terms of resources. Some people will say that it is a progress and you have to learn. So as if they assume that we complain about this part. So while I'm totally fine, okay, with learning, and I have spent some time with, for example, Yeoman, NPM, TypeScript, etc., etc., etc. So SharePoint Framework can work like with React, because that is the native. We can say that it is native framework from the Microsoft SPF for the SPFx developer. But you can also create projects using Angular. Okay, you can use, so I just place here the first logo from AngularJS, but we can also use the latest version like Angular Elements. There are plenty of new resources available using Angular. You can also use Vue. I have already play a little bit with Vue.js, and is also a good framework to implement inside SPFx. But I will recommend, of course, React. So Yeoman. So I will talk a little bit about Yeoman, because instead of SPFx, I've been using this amazing Yeoman generator. Okay, so for some reason it's work way faster. Does not take hours to create a new project. It does not produce SPFX web parts. I do create a full screen custom ISP pages using this. So it's amazing using Yeoman to create new project. And you can also create your custom Yeoman generator. I have a few sessions on my past regarding creating custom Yeoman generators, and it's amazing to be able to create our own templates, and with just a few prompts on our command window, and create an entire project from scratch with a lot of dependencies. Okay, we have task runners, we have JS frameworks, as I already mentioned, we have web components, we have browsers, IDAs, headless CMS, so we can also play around with Jamstack technologies. So plenty of template engines, JavaScript template engines like Nunjux, for example. You can play around if you are a developer, and if you want to go further on all these topics, you can use everything that you want inside SPFx. So everything is JavaScript, so we can use anything inside this. This is an amazing progress in terms of development inside SharePoint. Okay, so sometimes it seems like there are new versions of Node.js releases almost weekly. So minor versions every few weeks, major versions every few months. And if you are a developer that needs to switch between different applications and project and regular basis, so you may find you need to run different versions of nodes, okay? That is important to mention, that sometimes some of the project requires different versions of Node.js. There are a few modules, NPM package available that will help you with that. I personally use NVMW, that is a package node module that will help me to switch between different versions regarding the project that I'm working on. So if you are running the latest version from Node, or for example, for SPFX projects, I'm running the version 8.14.15.0, for example. But if I'm running another JavaScript project, I can be running the Node version 10, for example. So, but using that package, that node module, the NVMW, I can switch between versions without any problem, okay? Okay, so going further, and I think I'm good at the time. Okay, let's talk right now, and since that you have already talked about the development, let's go to one of the main topics of the sessions. Let's talk about the cognitive service. So Azure Cognitive Service are APIs, SDKs, and service available for help developers build intelligent application without having direct AI or data science skills or knowledge. And this is absolutely amazing, okay? You don't need to be pro with AI, you don't need to have some data science skills. You can just activate inside your Azure subscription the API that you intend to use, and you are up and running to include on your project. So it's also available to enable developers to easily add cognitive features into their applications. So, and I will show in a few minutes a live demo of a use case using cognitive services with SPFx. So developers can create applications that can see, hear, speak, understand, and even begin to reason. Okay, so there are 5 different APIs available that will help any developer with their ideas. So namely, they are 5 main pillars, in the Azure Cognitive Services, that they are the vision, speech, language, web search, and decisions. Okay, so Microsoft cloud-based platform Azure has helped many businesses expand and cut back on their costs associated with hosting and storing data and traditional server. Okay, furthermore, the platform is giving developers a chance to create, manage, and deploy Power Applications capable of assisting cloud customers to perform any number of tasks. In the same way that UX principle have become the standard for web, okay, application and experience design and so much more. So we believe AI, and I myself believe that AI and cognitive technologies can be applied to better the functionality, usage, and the value of any business and its offerings. Okay. Okay, so a little bit preview about the cognitive service that I already mentioned. So the vision, so it helps image processing algorithms to smartly identify, caption, and moderate your picture. And I will myself use this particular API in my live demo. So we have also the speech, so we can convert spoken audio into text. So I also have a project that I'm working on using the speech API, namely text to speech, okay? We can also use the language. So the language API allow apps to process natural language with pre-built scripts, evaluate sentiments, and learn how to recognize what users want. So very useful as well. So search, so we can add Bing search APIs to our apps and harness the ability to comb billions of web pages, images, videos, and use with a single API call, okay? And last but not least, knowledge. So map complex information and data in order to solve tasks such, for example, as an intelligent recommendation and semantic search, okay? Okay, with this, let's go to our demo. So let's cross fingers right now because this is not recorded, okay? So I will make a real live demo and I will start to share my screen in a different window. So let's stop sharing this and share my window, this one. Okay, so I think that everyone is seeing right now my Visual Studio Code, so perfect. So I have here a web part that is running a cognitive services to identify images and grab content from that image and place it on the page. So like extract the content that the image has inside and place it here on the web page. This can also be done using, for example, a flow. And I think that you are now, no, sorry. I'm sharing the Visual Studio Code, but I will share my window besides to share. Okay, there we go. Let me share. I'm sharing right now my Google Chrome. Okay, I'm sharing my browser, and I will explain here a very simple flow regarding how we can grab information from an image, okay, and show it that particular image inside, for example, an SPFx inside the SharePoint list. So this flow inside the Power Automate application has a very simple steps that can be understand very easily. So what I'm doing is I have inside my SharePoint environment, I have a picture library. So anytime that I create a file inside my folder, my picture library, this will fire a flow, okay? So this flow will help. So in this flow, so this is the first action. The second hash action is I will get the file metadata. So I will identify my file, okay? The file identifier. I will get the properties of that specific specific document library, and I will analyze the image contents. So using AI, okay? So using one of the options available on the Power Automate, you can also include a task inside your flow that will help you to analyze content coming from APIs. Of course, my flow has already a connection to my SharePoint environment as well to my AI subscription inside Azure, my cognitive services subscription from the Vision API. So I'm doing both steps because I noticed in some of the tests that I was running that sometimes due to the amount of image that I'm uploading to my document library, they are the amount of requests, and sometimes it can be stuck in some of the requests. So I add two tasks exactly using the same structure. So it's not important to have these two tasks, but I noticed that sometimes the first one can be blocked, and if I have another one that can be continuous to the other. So I have also a task to join. So all the tag names that AI will give me regarding analyzing the picture, I will just grabbing this and merge and joining this using a comma, okay, character. So, and after this process, I will update my list, and on the keywords column, I will place the output coming from my join method, okay? So the result of the join method will be inserted inside my keywords, okay? Now, if I go to my environment, and I believe that I will need to change, but it's not important. Let me go to my SharePoint environment, and I will 365 Virtual Marathon. I will log in inside my environment, and I will go to the site collection where I have my picture library, okay? Just a few seconds. SharePoint is trying to, I think that I have here in another view, okay? So I believe that you are seeing right now a different window. So with my SharePoint tenant, perfect. Okay, so in this SharePoint tenant, if I go to the site contents, let me go to the site contents. And here I have a picture library, okay? A simple picture library without anything inside. Perfect. Okay, so this picture library, anytime that it receives images, my flow will fire and will analyze the image, grab information, and place that information on a column on my window, okay? On my picture library. So that will fill the column inside my picture library with the content analyzed. So if I switch and if I drag and drop here some image that I have, for example, like dogs, and let me do this. So if I upload here some images about dogs, so if I refresh my page, you can see that I have dogs here right now. So if I come to my flow, if I test and if I will perform the tests, so if I come again to my picture library, if I show here lists, and I will, there we go. you can see that right now on the keywords column, I have a few tags that were analyzed using my flow and pasted directly inside this column. And the flow is still processing the images, okay? So if I refresh, you will notice that some of the images will start receiving in the keywords column, will start receiving this. Perfect. So we have a flow that anytime that I upload some pictures to my library, that will fire and that will analyze the pictures, create, and inside the keywords column will place the tags regarding that analyzing process. Let's do the same using a web part. So in terms of the web part, and if I start here and let me just check my NVMW version that I'm running. So I'm running the version number 8.15.0. Perfect. Let me go observe this. Go observe. Okay, let me start the project. And since the project is starting, that will take a few seconds. Let me just come here and explain what I'm doing behind the scenes. That is a very simple project that I can also share with anyone that intends to test this. So, okay, so what I'm doing behind the scenes is I have a function that gets the tags for the image. And here they are a particular thing that I'm doing is I'm using SQL query to grab the tags. So I'm just analyzing the image and split in the 3 relevant tags. I'm just showing 3 of the tags that I'm getting from my connection to the server. So of course, I have here a connection to an API server's key. I have also a connection to my Vision URL. That one of the things that you keep in mind is the region. Sometimes the region can affect the way that the APIs in the cognitive service are working. So one of the things that I noticed is using West US region is one of the best regions to get the most useful information about analyzing image itself. Okay, so, and if I increase a little bit the size here of my window, so this here, sorry, this, okie dokie, okay, there we go. Here I'm doing all the things that I was mentioned. So I'm slicing the tags that I'm getting, okay? I'm using camel query, sorry, it's not camel query. I'm using SQL query to make a query to the endpoint and to extract the content that I intend. If I come here to the query itself, so I'm also getting the key, name, tags, and the thumbnail for that particular image, okay? So the post is the HTTP post is very simple. So I'm just using HTTP client post and sending to my Vision URL. Okay, I'm passing the configuration version as well, and also my HTTP options that they are namely some headers that you need to append, some request headers that you need to append to this. So with that said, I'm also using and importing a drag and drop module, okay, React Suggestions module as well to this SPFx web part. So once I go to the server that is running right now, okay, my Workbench, and if I add my web part to the page, you will see that is a very, very simple web part that only has a drag and drop section that you can just use one of the reusable components available for SPFx to use the drag and drop. I have an input with the tags result. So anytime that I click here and I add an image, so like, let me just drag and drop because I have already here the image. I will also drag and drop an image for a dog, for example. You can see that my web part is also grabbing that 3 tags directly from my cognitive services, the Vision API. So I can also use, for example, different images, like, for example, I'm a very huge fan of windsurfing. So I can also add an image of windsurfing, and the cognitive service API will also grab this information about, analyze the information about the image and display on the page. And you can see how fast is this. So how amazing is this this kind of future building an SPFx web part from scratch. There are a few examples available on the web as well, how we can achieve this kind of behavior and how useful this can be for your organization, for example. So with that said, our first demo went very well, and I was crossing my fingers because we never know. So living demos is also a challenge. Let's go again, and let's go to our second point regarding the powerful of SPFx and the future. Okay, let's going to the sliders again. Okay, so here is the entire flow that we did regarding an explanation, a graphic explanation about the functionality of the web part and the way that you can interact. So this is like an architecture behind the scenes and how the things are being implemented and are merging it together to get the final result as you were seeing in a demo. So using Flow, using Azure with the cognitive service with the API vision, link it with the SPFx web part that has a few reusable components available on the web, also with the picture library inside of SharePoint, and you can doing all that tricks with just a few lines of code. Okay, so let's go further. So this is a SPFx web part that is using open source library. The React Drop Zone, as I mentioned, is a reusable component available that helps us to upload the images and immediately search for a visual and similar images inside SharePoint Online Picture Library by deploying Azure Cognitive Service Computer Vision, the API that we are using. We also are using the SharePoint Search REST API for the keywords. Okay, it's important also to mention of the images in the library are reached during uploads. Okay, thanks to the Power Automate that connects to the Azure Cognitive Service Computer Visions. Okay, so a few services merging together, and we can have an amazing environment up and running. Okay, moving forward. Okay, Power Applications. So SharePoint Online integrate Power Apps Canvas form with SPFx. Okay, so Power Apps is for the ones that doesn't know Power Apps. So it's an enterprise service that lets connect, create, and share business apps with teams, with any team. Okay, in minutes. Okay, this is very straightforward. It's almost no code, low code. Okay, you can create Power Apps for existing lists in SharePoint Online, for example. And the use case that I have here in my presentation is, so we can, for example, while building a custom SharePoint list, let's explain a little bit the use case in this scenario. So while we are building a custom SharePoint list for using SPFx web parts, one usually encounter a situation where an elevation of a current user context is required. Okay, this is important, especially where the user does not have permissions over the list and we would like to collect information from them. Okay, for example, a feedback form or a site collection request form where a user should not have direct access to a view or either other items, but he or she should be able to make an entry, create an item into that list. So the process flow here on this image describe that interaction. Okay, so a user does not have access to the SharePoint list. It has been provided in an interface which is built using SPFx web parts. Okay, a user makes an HTTP request post via SPFx web part, which triggers a flow. Okay, that and next consecutive actions present in the flow makes a request to ACS to retrieve access token. Once the action token is received as a response, another SharePoint REST API has been performed using this action token. Item is creating successfully. So behind the scenes is the way that this will work. So in terms of architecture, this can be a little bit complex. So we can see this image. Oh, there are a lot of services running on the back. So is the needed to implement everything behind the scenes? No, because Flow can do one of the steps from us. Okay, like HTTP, like the access token authentication retrieving from the ASS. So there are a few things that are doing behind the scenes. The only thing that you need to do is just have a list inside your SharePoint. Create a Power application, okay, that with forms, that anytime that the user fills that form, that will automatically add information to your SharePoint lists. And once you have all of these items implemented, you can just go to your SPFx web part, and you can create a project from scratch. Can be a Hello World web part. You can just remove everything that Hello World was creating in terms of the render method that will render the content on your page. You can remove all that logic and implement a component, a model React component that will open an iframe that has inside your Power App, okay? And the Power App itself will do the work that you have already implemented. So this is just a few tricks that can help you to achieve a user case like this. So with that said, let's go to our demo. So let's get started on how we can create a Power App from a form with SPFx and leverage the Power Apps out of the box capability. So the SPFx solutions, again, simple explanation. So the SPFx solutions will call the Power App form using the model dialog with an iframe, like I mentioned, and the Power App form then saves the data into a SharePoint Online list, okay? So the SPFx control is designed to render the web part on a SharePoint Online modern framework pages. So Power App is designed to add data into SharePoint Online list with a REST API call. SharePoint Online list is created and will store the data. So if we go, and if I go here to my demo environment, so let's forget here my picture library because this was for the previous demo. And here inside my SharePoint environment, I have a simple list created with just a title, and anyone knows that anytime you create a SharePoint list from scratch, the title is already there. So leave comment is a single line input. I have a start date and I have an end date. So just 4 simple columns with where I'll be adding my information. I will refresh the page so you can see there is no trick behind the sleeves. So, and with that said, let's go to the project. So let me just close, because if not, I will render this. Let me just stop the other projects and let me open this simple web part. So for the ones that are already developers and they are already creating projects, SPFx projects, they can notice that this is a very simple web part. And the only thing that I'm just including here is I'm just importing the model component that will, and also the React iframe that will help me to add my my Power App iframe directly to my SPFx web part. So if we scroll down a little bit, so Just a few methods to open and close the model. There we go, to close and to show the model anytime that I open. So of course, this can be done with the most simple approach, but just copy and paste one method to open, another method to close. The render method from the web part that will place the content on my SharePoint page, okay, on my environments. So I have a div here that has just a simple title. I have a button that once I click that will open the model, and here just I have my iframe, okay? So this is the way that I can implement the iframe. So anytime that I click to open the model, this will render an iframe that is grabbing my my Power App that I have inside my application. So going first to my Power App. So here I have already the Power App created, so I can just click on this. So you can see that anytime that I place here, okay, I need to be logged in with my another account. Okay. Oh, sorry. No, this Power App is not using this account, it's using this one. Okay. So if I open my Power App, so I have here a simple form. So anytime that I paste here and I had here some input data like hello, typos, world, leave a comment, amazing 365 virtual marathon. Okay, I will also place the date of today, and unfortunately that will end also today. Let's submit this. Okay, request submitted successfully. Let's go to our SharePoint list. Let's refresh. And here you can see that I have already the content that I added on my app inside Power Apps. So very simple, no tricks. Okay, let's go again to the Power App. Oh, sorry. Let's go again to the Power App and let me edit this so you can see. The only thing that I'm doing here are just creating some forms, and I'm connected to SharePoint environments. Okay, so let's wait a few minutes, not a few minutes, a few seconds, and I'm already almost done because we need to have Q&A. Like I told you, I'm a Portuguese guy, so I speak a lot. Okay. Okay, so this is taking some time to loading. Let's go right now to our SPFx web part. Let's do the same. Let's go observe this to open our Workbench. Okay, go observe, and just 2 more minutes. And since that is running the go observe, we can switch to, there we go. So this is here my Power App. As you can see on my data resources, I'm connected to a SharePoint environment, namely to my SharePoint site collection M365 VM, sorry, and with, of course, a specific authentication. So if I come here to my Workbench right now, that is being loading, if I add my web parts, the only thing that I have is just raise a live request button. Once I click, that will open the same Power App, and hello again. So is working? Question mark, same date. Okay. Okay again, let's submit. Okay, getting data. Let's go to our list that is in another browser. Let's refresh this. And there we go, it's working. So simple trick. So Power App inside SPFx web parts without any trick. Okay, with that said, let's go again to the presentation. So I don't believe that there's nothing new to talk about here with Microsoft Teams. I will not make a demo inside Microsoft Teams, but Microsoft Teams is an amazing tool that we have in nowadays that are helping organizations to connect the people. So starting with SharePoint Framework 1.8, I believe so, you can also implement Microsoft Teams tabs using SPFx framework. So just using a simple JSON file, you can also interact with Microsoft Graphs, and Graph right now, Graph is a completely new world. So you have a lot of new endpoints, a lot of data that is coming from your SharePoint services that you can include inside your SPFx web parts, creating a manifest file using a JSON file that you can get directly from the Microsoft documentation. You can get this up and running without any issue. Okay, so sorry for the Microsoft Teams explanation, very quick explanation, but we are running out of time. I know that I just have two more minutes, so that's a wrap. So we have talked about the paradigm, the old classic environment and the new classic environment about SPFx web parts. We have talked about the development, namely the cognitive services and the way that you can interact with Azure cognitive services. Also interact with Power Platforms and a different approach that you have. Microsoft Teams. So right now, and it's coming from this summer, you will be able also to add Microsoft Teams SPFx web part directly to the app source catalog for Microsoft Teams. Is also a new thing that will be available in Microsoft Teams, and is everything. I don't know if we have any questions. So thank you for your time. And you have here the QR code. Don't forget to give a speaker feedback. Is always important thing for me. Know the feedback from the persons that were attending the session, if that will be useful for your business. If it will be, and if you need anything from me, I'm always available. You can find also event feedback. Don't forget that. And that's a wrap. So anything that you need from me, you have my contacts on the presentation, also on the website. Just use it. So I will always be available. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy